Hi, I'm Mike Smith, estate planning attorney with Smith Barrett LLC and one half of the estate planning guys. Now, one of the things you need to think about when you set up a living trust to take care of your estate planning needs is who's going to serve as the trustee. And there's a couple of different time periods. There's actually 3 time periods involved in a living trust. You need to think about who should serve as a trustee during each of those time periods. So the first time period we're concerned with in a living trust estate plan is while you're alive. And typically for most clients, they will serve as the trustee of their trust while they're alive. So they fill 3 roles in the trust during their lifetime. Number 1, they're the grantor, so they're the person that set the trust up and moved their assets into the trust. Number 2, they're the beneficiary of the trust, so the person who benefits from the assets in the trust, so you can pay your bills with the checking account that's in the trust, for example. And number 3, they typically serve as the trustee. The trustee is the person who's responsible for managing the assets in the trust. So making sure that investments are made properly, that real estate that's owned by the trust is taken care of and maintained, that rents are collected, that bills are paid, etc. So the trustee is really effectively the manager for the trust. And for most clients, when they set a trust up during their lifetime, they're going to serve as the trustee. Sometimes there are situations where the client may not want to serve as the trustee during their lifetime. So for example, if they've developed cognitive issues, or if they're concerned that they will develop cognitive issues, they may want a child or another family member to come in and serve as the trustee or serve as a co-trustee with them. That will allow them to offload some of the responsibilities during their lifetime if that's what they want to do. But for the most part, most of our clients will typically serve as the trustee during their lifetime. Now, the second time period that a living trust is concerned with is if you become incapacitated. So if, for example, you develop dementia or you have a stroke and you can't manage your own affairs anymore, at that point, a person called a successor trustee, or as we refer to that role, the incapacity trustee, will step in and take charge and manage the trust for your benefit while you're alive. So what does that mean exactly? Well, they're going to take over the day-to-day responsibility of managing the assets. So for example, making the call to the financial advisor and asking them to invest in a new company or to sell stocks or to allocate things differently within your portfolio. That's the kind of thing that the trustee would do. Also, managing real property. So if you own rental properties, for example, the trustee would be responsible for making sure that rents are collected, that the roof is maintained, that the landscaping is taken care of, etc. The day-to-day operation of the trust falls to that incapacity successor trustee, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to you. What that means is they're responsible for making sure that they always put your interests first. So never can the trustee consider, how's this going to affect me? What is this going to do for me? But only, is this of benefit to the beneficiary of the trust, which you will be the beneficiary of your living trust during your lifetime. Now, the third time period for a living trust is after you've died. And at that point, the trustee is referred to as a successor trustee or a death trustee. And that person takes over management of the trust after you've died. And the trust will have instructions in it as to what you want to happen when you die. So for example, it may say, I want you to split the assets up among my children and make an outright distribution. That would mean that the trustee would have responsibility for gathering together all the assets, paying off any debts that are due, and then liquidating the assets or distributing them in kind if they don't feel like it's a good time to liquidate. So that an example that would be, if there were a real estate holding and the real estate market was doing, just terribly, it might not be a good time to sell the real estate. And so they may make the distribution out to the beneficiaries of the actual real estate without selling it first. But those are the kinds of decisions and actions that the trustee will take when you die. They will also be responsible for making sure that tax returns are filed, that the property is maintained properly until a disposition can be made. So for example, if you own a home, the trustee will take over responsibility of making sure that there's insurance in place, that the bills are paid, that the electric bill is paid, that the roof is taken care of, etc., etc. The trustee really takes on that responsibility of managing everything and wrapping up your affairs after you've passed away. So those are the 3 time periods in a living trust and how the trustee operates in each of those time periods. So then the question is, how do I choose somebody to do that? So I think that decision really comes down to, who do you know in your life that you feel could take on that responsibility and would be willing to take on that burden? Because let's be honest about it, it is a burden, but would be willing to take on that burden to help you and your family. Now, oftentimes clients will choose family members. Family members can be great trustees, but it's not always a good idea to name a family member. If you don't have someone in your family that is responsible enough, that has the financial knowledge, that has the knowledge of your assets to be able to take on that role, then you're not gonna wanna name a family member. The second kind of person that clients often turn to is a friend. And so you may have a friend that you've known for a very long time who would be a great trustee. So again, you're gonna wanna choose someone who you feel has the capabilities of serving as trustee and is responsible enough to make the right financial decisions and decisions about distributing assets out to the beneficiaries. And you also wanna consider, is this someone that the beneficiaries are gonna get along with? Is this someone who they respect, that they will understand the decisions that are being made and they will abide by those decisions? Because if a conflict develops between the trustee and the beneficiaries, it can be very difficult to resolve that. It can be expensive. So you're gonna wanna find somebody that you think can work with your beneficiaries. The third option for a trustee would be a professional trustee, and those come in all kinds of different flavors. So you could have a trust company that would serve as trustee. Trust companies are specifically designed to serve as in the trustee role. They have insurance that covers them if they make a mistake. They do this every day. They know how to manage the assets. They know, how to invest, etc. Trust companies typically only handle trusteeships. The next type of professional trustee you might use would be a bank trust officer. So many banks have their own trust departments, and they are much like a trust company. They have experience with managing trusts. They know how to handle the assets. They have experience in dealing with beneficiaries. So that can be a great choice as well. And then third, you have professionals like attorneys and CPAs who can serve sometimes in those roles. So that might be something you want to discuss with your attorney or CPA if you're trying to figure out who can serve as trustee. So 3 different time periods during your living trust, and we talked about 3 different types of trustee that you might choose. The most important thing is to really just make sure that the choice for trustee is someone or a company that has the capability and is responsible enough to manage those assets and to deal with the beneficiaries, because sometimes there can be issues in dealing with beneficiaries. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Mike Smith, estate planning attorney with Smith Barrett LLC and one half of the Estate Planning Guys.